All right, we're live. Waiting for some comments. Make sure people are on there. 2 watching. Hi, everybody. Let's see. Looks like we have some comments. Oh, I see. Someone's tagging. We're just going to wait a little bit, give a few minutes for people to join us and ask any questions they have. Let's see. Hi, Joni. It's good to see you. Can everybody hear me okay? I got a new microphone. I want to make sure it's working. Hi, Kelly. Glad you joined us. We'll try to answer any questions you have and try to educate everybody tonight. And we will do this every Thursday night. Sometimes we'll have updates, sometimes we won't, but we'll always get on the live and chat, see what's going on, update you when we have them. Good. There's our friend Lee. Hey, Lee. He's been in the cannabis industry outside of the state for a long time, so he's a really good resource for any questions that you may have. Okay, let's see. Okay, Billy can hear me. Well, if Billy can hear me, that's all that matters, right? Okay, Billy can hear me too. Good. Oh, somebody's tagging. All right. So we got 6 people. We'll wait a little bit longer. So the format, how we're going to do this is I'm watching the comments. And as you can see, I can pop them out there, if somebody has a question that we're going to address. So go ahead and just, whatever you want to know, we'll try to answer for you. I know that one of the things I really want to talk about tonight are the what is called in the industry as a medical pot doc. And they are selling certifications and cards right now to go with the executive order. But I do think there's really a lot of confusion about the executive order and what the medical cannabis program is going to be. So we just want to go over that a little bit tonight, as well as answer any questions you guys have, just to make sure that everybody knows the right laws and, stay safe and protects themselves. I think the easiest way to get in trouble is to have one of these cards and think that you're legal and maybe not be as safe as you normally would be and end up getting in some trouble. So we want to make sure everybody's on the same page with that. Let's see. Get some more people on. So does anybody have any questions that, I can answer? Let's see. Oh, yeah, I made a cool little graphic here. Make sure you guys go to kynnormal.org. And at the top is just a little black subscription box. And we will be sure to email, when the medical registry is open, different updates like that as they come out. Let's see. Okay. I can hear Matthew typing over there. Well, all right. So I don't see any questions coming up so far, but let's talk about the executive order real quick. So Governor Beshear announced that back in November of last year, and it became effective January 1st. What the executive order actually does is offer, I kind of look at it as a pre-qualified pardon. So if you get stopped and you have your receipts from your legal dispensary and you have a letter from your doctor, somebody you have a bona fide doctor-patient relationship with, is there 3 things or is that the only, it was 3 things, right? your receipts, your letter. Oh, and your products need to be in their original packaging, so that they can verify that they are the products that you claim they are, right? Then you're not putting unregulated product in a regulated package, if that makes sense. So if you get pulled over and you have all these things, police, law enforcement do have palm cards that show them that if you have those three things, they have the option of letting you go. Louisville Metro Police has made that clear that they won't, if that's all it is, they're going to let you go. But if you are in a rural area, you most likely will get arrested. And even some places, like I know I read an article in Murray, Kentucky, where the law enforcement there said they're going to do business as usual, and you can take your letter and your information to the courts and work it out with the judge, right? So, and I'm going to stop right there because Lee asked, well, how does all this work if you get pulled over in Ohio with cannabis from Michigan? It doesn't. This only covers Kentucky. It only covers what, Governor Beshear has authority over. So if you get pulled over in Ohio with cannabis from anywhere, that's an Ohio problem. You are not protected as a Kentucky citizen in that way. And that is because we have only just passed the medical program a month ago. So it's marijuana is legal if you're a medical patient, only if you have cannabis that was grown in Kentucky from seed to sale and has been tracked all the way through, and you're a registered medical patient with the state. Okay. You can't register with the state yet. And no one has been able to even get pricing on any licenses for Kentucky. So there's no way any cannabis has been grown from seed to sale and tracked that way. So if you go and buy one of these cards that we've been talking about, it's only going to qualify you for this executive pardon that we're talking about. And you cannot get a pardon unless you get arrested, right? So if you go and pay $150, $200 for one of these cards and they tell you, all right, you're legal now, you are not legal. It's just legally, it's not possible. Some of these places are saying, now you can go to Michigan or Colorado. Well, you could always do that. That's a recreational state. It's always going to be illegal to cross state lines, no matter what. It's not federally legal. So it doesn't matter if we're 10 years into the medical program. When you cross those state lines, you are breaking federal law. So we want everybody to be very aware of that. Governor Beshear cannot protect you outside of the state. If you end up it's a small chance for you to get pulled over federally for crossing state lines, but you could. And there would be no protection for you there either. So just know that when these medical cards that you see signs for, sometimes they're cards, sometimes they're letters. It doesn't matter what they are. If they're not issued through the state, they do not make you a medical patient. You are not a state registered medical patient unless you register with the state. And these places absolutely do not register for the state because the registry is not open, right? So I just want you guys to know that. I'm not saying don't do it. If you have the extra money and it makes you feel better, then fine. But please know that it does not protect you. It's just kind of a maybe it'll catch you in the very end for a pardon, maybe. But it does not make you legal. So that's going to be your first red flag. If you call one of these places and they say, hey, we can make you legal. All you have to do is do this appointment, couple $100, and you'll have a card that is, I can't say that it's a scam or that it's illegal, but it, to me, is unethical because they are not giving out the correct information. Whether or not that's on purpose or just because it's miscommunication or miseducation problems, I don't know. But yeah, it hasn't been tried out in court yet. Nobody has taken their receipts and their letter from their doctor to qualify for their pardon. So we don't know even if a judge would accept it. What I do know is that if you look up these businesses, you will find a paper trail in other states. And in those other states, they are being sued because they cannot prove a bona fide doctor-patient relationship, right? Same company, different state. So if you take this card or this letter to the judge after you've gotten arrested and you want him to qualify for you for this pardon, he's going to want to know if it's a bona fide doctor patient relationship. So that's where the sticking point is. That's where it gets dangerous. If they do the research, they look this company up in other states. None of these other states thought it was a bona fide, doctor patient relationship. Why should he? Some of these businesses, when you look up their address on Google Maps, it's an empty, abandoned building. It doesn't even look like there's anything going on there. I know there's a place in Louisville that operates out of an open workspace, meaning they just kind of rent a mailbox, maybe a desk in that office, but it's not a doctor's office. They just take telehealth calls there. So, I can't tell you that it will protect you. It has not been tested. I can't tell you that it won't protect you because, again, it hasn't been tested. But, you are welcome to ask questions here. You can email us. You can send us messages, and we'd be glad to tell you what we know about the companies you may be considering. I know down here in Bowling Green, you'll see the little yard signs everywhere. I think this one particular company was called Green Health Docs. And we looked them up in particular, and I think it was in Bismarck that they were being sued for, not being a bona fide relationship. So you guys, we just want you to be careful and just make sure you absolutely know the laws and the regulations that you're dealing with, because, it's really important. I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments right here. Okay, so Anthony asked us if anyone in Kentucky is getting legal cards, not for a pardon. No, because the registry is not open yet. There's no card to get. We need to think about this like getting a driver's license from the state. It has to come from the state. I can print out a driver's license and I could probably drive on it for a while before I ever get pulled over and get checked, right? But if I ever do get checked, man, it's going to be really bad, right? And so that's kind of how you have to think about this. Sure, you can get a card from somebody, but it's not state issued. You are not a state patient. It does not have protections in any way like that. It does not make you legal. And so Kelly's warning Anthony that some scammers are hitting people with fake medical cards. And that's what we've been talking about all along. Like, like I said, I would just really question them. I would question a refund policy. I saw one refund policy that just said, if you are not eligible with this certification in your state under their medical program, that's not their problem. So if you read between the lines, if you do your homework, do your research, you'll see that it's just not all it's cut out to be. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. If you absolutely need a second opinion and you want to call us and talk to us about it, please do before you spend that money. And like I said, it's not so much the money for most people as it is, in my opinion, is the illusion of safety. We don't want anybody getting arrested over this. So let's see. Lee wants to know if Kentucky NORML will list bona fide resources. Yes, we will. And we also have a sister organization we're waiting on the final paperwork back for. That's the Kentucky Cannabis Foundation. And that is where we will be really pushing a lot of the educational resources. And we'll have information there. We'll have that same information on Kentucky NORML's website so that you guys can stay safe and what all is going on. And doctors will have to register with the state. So again, you'll be able to go to, and I'm sure there will be a Kentucky.gov type address as well that will list which doctors are registered and who can give you a real medical program card. But until that opens up, we won't know anything. Right now, sorry, I can't talk and read messages at the same time. Oh, Anthony, thank you. I'll be glad to help anybody with this issue. Excuse me, you don't have to thank me. It's what we do. Kentucky NORML is a consumer protection organization. So, we do advocate up in Frankfurt, but our main concern is making sure all of you guys stay safe and that you know the right laws and everything like that. So. Let's see. Yeah, Matthew says when the doctor registry is open, the patient registry is open. And I mean, we'll even update everybody when license information and pricing comes out as well. but it's still a very complicated issue. There's not very many conditions that are covered under the medical program yet. So it's still really, really restrictive. Does anybody have questions? I mean, I think I covered the executive order pretty well. Does everybody understand what we're talking about now? If you have any questions about the medical cards, reach out to us first. Let you know what's going on. We'll research these companies for you if you need us to. But if nobody has any more questions about that part, I think we should move on to talk about the Senate bill a little bit and see if you'll have any questions about that. And I might let Matt trade places with me. You want to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. What are we talking about over here?
Well, I talked about the executive order, and I need to take a drink, and I thought maybe you could talk about the Senate bill.
Oh, sure.
I just kind of going over, what is covered for medical patients and explain a little bit more how that's going to work.
For sure. Okay.
Excuse me.
So for the Senate bill, just to kind of give it an overview of how it's going to be set up, it will be ran through the Cabinet of Health and Family Services. That will oversee the implementation, operation, oversight, regulation, top to bottom for it. They will appoint a 9-member board of physician advisors. That's 7 physicians, 2 APRNs. Any of those people that have prescriptive authority. And so with those doctors, they will be licensed through the State Board of Medical Licensure and the State Board of Nursing for their respective professions. Most of the regulation will be decided by the Board of Physicians and Advisors. The legislative deadline for the program's regulations should be finalized by July 1st, 2024. But a word from the governor's office and other places is that they're wanting to hurry up this process and get a lot of this done beforehand, which should be fairly easy. We're not the first state to do this. They've got, a bunch of other states that they can look at and see what's worked and what hasn't worked. And so, we'll keep our eye on how these regulations are going through. Presumably, there will be an open comment period. During that time, we will let everybody know. It's like, hey, how we think rules should be put. Here's a good place for you to let your opinions be known. Whether or not they listen to those opinions, that's up to them. But, a good idea is a good idea. And that's why they have those open comment periods. For the physician's role in the regulation, so they have to be authorized by the Board of Licensures. And so, all doctors won't be giving recommendations. So, some of them, like there's rules behind it. So some of them will have to, if you're going to be recommending cannabis for your patients, you're going to, they're going to have to do continuing education and do some other stuff. And some doctors aren't going to want to deal with all the extra stuff that goes with it. But others are going to go out of their way and be like, yes, I absolutely want to do this. So, I don't think there'll be too much of a shortage for that. But we'll see, how the process goes. And like I said, when we know who's registered and in the program for recommendations, that we will have that on our site and available for everyone to be able to get a hold of it. And and in the situation to where your doctor might not necessarily recommend it, well, they spend a lot of time referring patients to specialists and other things, and I don't think this would be any different. So if your doctor didn't, they could recommend you to someone who does do that. So that'll be a good way to kind of go through, because a lot of people are worried, is my doctor going to be one of those doctors? Do I have something to worry about? I don't necessarily think so. I think if you and your doctor agree on the thing, they're gonna just recommend you over to whoever you need to get that recommendation. The board is still going to try to figure out how much the personal use that you can have at any given period of time, like a 60-day supply, a 30-day supply, 10-day supply. Oh yeah, we see down here every 60 days. Yeah, in the comments, that's really troubling. That is something that I was getting ready to get to. Yeah, patients have to register. Once they get the initial consultation taken care of, they have to recertify every 60 days. That doesn't have to be in person. They can be done telehealth, but that's still an awful lot of time to go and do that. So hopefully, they'll see that written in there, and they'll be like, okay, wait, we can do better. I mean, even quarterly is too much, so and I think over time, they'll hear feedback from doctors, they'll hear feedback from patients, hopefully before they get the program in place. But that's something I think is very concerning. That recertification. And is there a fee every 60 days too? See, we don't want those prices to stack up on patients. For the medical cannabis licensing, as if you're going to run a business, there's going to be 4 levels of cultivators. Tier 1 is up to 2,500 square feet canopy. Tier 2 does not exceed 10,000 square feet. Tier 3 does not exceed 25,000 square feet. And Tier 4 does not exceed 50,000 square feet. I imagine that's the cap they have for now, but that might change. They may change on how this is done, and there may not be a cap at the end, So there'll also be a license for processors, people to make edibles and other things, vapes. There'll also be producer licenses. Those will be for people, companies that will both cultivate and produce their own stuff.
Let's have a pause. We had some comments here.
Okay. Yeah, let's jump in here.
So Kelly said, can you receive controlled pain pills from pain management and medical marijuana, or do you have to choose one or the other with doctors? Kelly, from what I understand, there are people, it just depends on the doctor. I think if you have a longtime doctor and they know you use cannabis and they know you're not going to be irresponsible with it, they can prescribe pain pills. But again, I think that because of all the issues that doctors have had, they have to really know you and trust you to be a responsible patient, I guess. So yeah, Deborah says the same thing here, that it depends on your physician. Because like I said, I do know people personally that are allowed to have THC in their system and have pain pills. But I don't think that would happen with a pain clinic, because unless you've been going there for years and years and years and years. That could be an issue. So, and then Jared wanted to know qualifications on Tier 1. We don't know. Let me sit up a little bit so you can see my face here. I'm the shorty. The deadline to have all those regulations out isn't until July 1st of next year. So we just don't know. Hopefully we'll have them out sooner. Mm-hmm. I know that Governor Beshear has said that he hopes that they'll come out sooner, but as of right now, we don't know.
And to kind of address that, like, all we can do right now is sort of guess about how other states have done their qualifications for things. There may be, I think they've talked about in the past there being like a cap, amount of capital that you would have to have, but that would also depend on the licensure. So right now it's all conjecture, and it can be very convoluted once we start going down these rabbit holes where we don't know exactly what's going on. But we're going to stay on top of this, on all of the regulations. So when they do come out, we can pass those right along.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Daniel, you saw our, maybe our comments are slower than we're talking here. So
yeah, there probably is a little bit of a delay. And just finish up on the licensing. There are also 2 other kinds of licenses, of course, dispensary and the cannabis safety license compliance facilities. There will probably be no caps on testing. I think that's something that they're going to really want to keep an eye on, in there. So, that's something they're going to push. Good, clean products. That's what we want too. So, we kind of encourage that also. Question.
From
yeah.
Cody. So Cody wants to know, will jobs have to be okay with it? No. Here's the thing. They did write into the bill that they want this to be treated the same as prescription pills. So if you're at work and you're allowed to have pain pills, there's a protocol there. But this is an at work state, or at will work state, meaning that you can be fired for any reason.
Or no reason.
Or no reason at all. And so there really can't be any protections written in that says that your job has to let you use it. That's just kind of, there's nothing that can be done about that.
Yeah. There will be, it will be up to the employer. Certain ones have already stopped using cannabis as.
Like Amazon.
Yeah. Amazon, Walmart, they've stopped. Those are the 2 biggest employers in the state. They've stopped cannabis testing, but that does not mean other places will. What we've seen in other states is they've definitely pulled away from testing for cannabis and done more of a test that is just kind of test your cognitive skills at the moment. Whether you're too tired or you're over caffeinated or all these other things, these tests can find this out. So whether or not you're sober at work, even though you might have the metabolites in your system, you could fail that drug test, but still be completely fine to drive a forklift, to operate any heavy machinery, because you're not currently under the influence. So, and these performance testing has just saved a lot of money for companies that deal in like some heavy industries, like steel workers and all this other stuff. They've saved a ton of money on workers' comp and all these other things. So like these companies in the state will see what's going on and see ways that they can save money. They're going to do it. And saving on workman's comp is a big deal, and they worry about that kind of thing. So having a way to cut millions of dollars in your workers' comp budget is going to be something that they're going to seriously take a look at, especially at these factories.
Well, and also the reason that Amazon's even changed their policy is because the job pool, the hiring pool was so limited, they didn't have enough people to hire. And that just keeps happening. So that's another reason why they are allowing for THC testing. So I guess the lesson here is, just because they drug test doesn't mean they drug test for THC. Try. If you need the job, you want to try, give it a try, because you'd be surprised how many people won't say anything about it. That's not what they're worried about.
Yeah.
And then Matthew was talking about impairment testing, like for work. I don't know if everybody knows this, but if you sleep like 5 or less hours of at night, it's like being legally drunk, because you're so tired and your reflexes are so slow. So, impairment testing really should be what happens anyway.
Yeah, it should be the standard.
Yeah, I mean,
and it stays out of people's lives a little bit more. So
we won't get on our soapboxes. Matthew still has more things to tell you.
Yeah. So, okay, for patients qualifying for the program, we'll get into that. So to legally use and access medical cannabis, they'll have to have a written certification from a practitioner and to apply to get into the medical cannabis program. Currently, we don't know what that will cost as far as getting into the program. There usually is nominal fee to cover for cards and registration and all the other stuff. Usually around $40 in other states. I think that's, but sorry, when you're recertifying, we won't know. We don't know. So we just hope that when we have to recertify every 60 days, you're not having to continually shell out money for that.
We do think, though, that it's going to be cheaper than the cards that are being sold right now.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that without a doubt.
If the state is charging $150, $200 for a medical card, we have more work to do.
Yeah.
So, look, James says $60 in Colorado for a year.
Yeah. So that's what we'll see a lot. We'll see a fee like around there, $50, $60, 40, anywhere between there. I think that's what we'll
Not a couple
see.
hundred.
No, we won't see anything like that. No, what's going on with those? That price is gouging. It's trying to strike while the iron's hot and get out before they get run out. So continuing with the qualifications for the program, I have mentioned in the chat some of the conditions that will be addressed, and I'm just going to go over them again real quick. So any form of cancer, any stage, chronic, severe, intractable, or debilitating pain. That's one that covers a lot of folks. Epilepsy or any of the other intractable seizure disorders that deals with spasticity. Multiple sclerosis, muscle spasm, spasticity, chronic nausea or cyclical vomiting, PTSD, which is great for a lot of our vets, and any other medical condition or disease for which the Kentucky Center for Cannabis finds appropriate. It's going to be up to them to recommend to the Senate or whoever to add more conditions to the program. Now, hopefully, the Kentucky Center for Cannabis will look at the wealth of knowledge that we already have and won't be trying to reinvent the wheel on what cannabis can and cannot help. We've got 40 years of science already from places of, they've been doing university studies for a very long time. So we know what it's good for, what it's not for. So hopefully they can just sort of look at the studies that have already been done and be like, yes, we agree with these studies. These are well done studies. So let's go with it, rather than being like, oh, well, let's start our own study and see what it is. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. We're not doing anything novel or, so hopefully that doesn't become an issue and we can get expansion of the program fairly well. And then going in for patients under 18, this is for, a lot of folks that have like some really sick kids and stuff. they can't purchase and possess it themselves. It has to be dealt with through a caregiver, whether that's their parent or a guardian. They have to purchase and administer. And for caregivers, we'll deal with caregivers just real quick. Patients can have up to 2 caregivers, and then each caregiver can have up to 3 patients that they take care of. So with the way the program is now, without the home grows and things like that, it does allow folks to really help people that are homebound, that can't go out to the dispensary. They are someone's caregiver. They can go and make the rounds for folks. So and I think that's going to be really good because we do have a very high population of disabled people and homebound folks. So, having caregivers have access to multiple patients is a good thing. I'd like to see a little bit more because we're not dealing with home grows and things like that. I think it would be better if we were. I can understand a smaller number. Let's see. We got any questions right now?
Just some questions about additional conditions. And again, chronic pain is on the list. What about the neuropathy? I don't think it was taken out, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But this is very early on. Things could change just within the next session. We don't know. Glaucoma, that's not covered yet. But again, there's 21 conditions on the governor's order, and there's only 6, 7 on the bill.
Yeah.
So,
but the language is fairly broad on some of it, so that is helpful. Because we don't want too narrow of a program or it won't be worth anything. We don't want to be in the program and, we need a good program that's open to a lot of individuals so we can, get access to folks.
So just kind of to finish up, this section is about legal protections. So qualifying patients, medical practitioners, caregivers, and medical cannabis dispensaries and their staff are not subject to criminal or civil penalty for actions authorized by the bill. The patient may have a 30-day supply, which of course we don't know what that means yet, but they'll let us know, I guess, and a 10-day supply on their person. The presence of cannabis in your system is in insufficient quantities will not constitute a patient being considered under the influence. I don't know if they placed the level for that, but it's not scientifically sound.
No.
So we're hoping that we can change the minds about that one.
When they look at impairment for cannabis or the metabolites in the system,
just like we talked about earlier,
it's they have no way of knowing, and it's they try to do a few things with like the swabs or the breathalyzers that they've tried out in other states. They have been unsuccessful largely. So the only thing that really works is impairment testing.
Yeah. So okay, so a patient cannot be denied organ transplants or other medical procedures based on medical cannabis use, which is good to hear because we hear horror stories every day of people. I spoke to a lady, probably still on live today, who, almost died because, and people, they just don't get good health care when there's THC in your system. They treat you like a druggie, and it's very sad what happens. So it's good to know at least that you can't be denied organ transplants or other medical procedures. Visiting patients will be afforded reciprocity, meaning your cousin from Ohio with a medical card can come visit you and get their medicine down here as well, as long as they have a medical card from a legitimate state medical program. Let's see. Registered patients will be afforded some protections to state and local drug testing as if they were prescribed pharmaceuticals, right? So that doesn't mean that work can let you have it, but in other situations where, they would go by what the doctor prescribes you, cannabis would be in that same realm. Let's see.
And so, just kind of touch on that too, when we speak about, workplace protections, you might be in a place where it's okay to smoke cannabis on your free time, but they may not allow a situation to where you can use your medicine at work. You might not be able to just I got to sneak away and hit a vape real quick. I'm in a lot of pain, or there may not be opportunities in your job that do that. They may have a policy. It's like, no, we're still drug free here. We don't care what you do over there, but we're still drug free here. Now, hopefully, employers will work with employees, as they do when they have prescription medications. So hopefully we'll see a lot of the same, rules and regulations, or policies and procedures really for that in the corporate world. Also, looking at some of the other limitations, there's a cap on the THC flower at around 35%, which isn't bad, honestly. Once you get up any higher than that, it's just it's sort of wasteful. You can get all you need with THC is at levels at that. But they've got edibles at 10 milligrams a dose. That's rec doses. Those aren't medical doses. They got concentrates at 70%. They need to be a bit stronger. You can't take a 70% RSO and it's not the same at all. So especially what are you diluting it with? I think that's going to be a lot of people's concern. Is 70% pure, but what's the other 30%? What is it watered down with, so to speak? So I think these things would be addressed. The purer the product, the better the product. It's the way I feel. And the less chemicals used in it, the better. Patients cannot have a disqualifying felony to enter the program. That would either constitute a person who is classified as a violent offender, or they have been convicted of a state or federal controlled substance violation, with some exceptions. Has it been 5 years since then? Okay, fine. If it's been recent, they're going to be like, look, you were doing some way here a little bit. We're going to let you a little bit, wait a little bit before you get in the program. And I can kind of, really, I think for that you get a lot out of the system after 5 years after arrest. So. And
I understand why they do that, honestly, but it's also. It seems to be a little classist and it is maybe a little bit of the R word. A little bit. I don't want to get censored, but I don't. But we don't make the rules. Yeah, we just tell them to.
We just report.
Yeah.
So, patients cannot undertake any task that under the influence of medical cannabis if it would be considered professional negligence. So, don't jump in a forklift and start working. Don't be at your job at the construction site and hop behind the crane and start swinging the ball around. That's what we looked at, what we well upon.
Don't act silly.
Yeah, and I'm sure, even in a professional setting, if you're an attorney and you're just really high in court, that's a little bit of professional negligence. Unless it's just a really terrible client, then I think maybe you might need it.
He's joking.
I can. Usually it's the prosecutors you got to worry about. No. But, back into some of those.
So that's just real quick. Yeah. Kelly wanted to know. So after 5 years, a violent crime doesn't stop a patient from receiving treatment, right?
Well, it depends on the classification on violent offenders. Now, they may keep that. If you're a violent offender, you're out of the program for good. Now, if you have been arrested for state or federal controlled substance charges like trafficking or something like that, that's where you've got the exceptions to where they may be like, okay, you can get in after a span of time. But I don't think there's any exceptions for the violent offenders, which there should be exceptions for it, But like I said, we don't make the rules on that. And of course, another restriction.
Violent offenders are they not allowed to use alcohol?
Yeah,
I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
No. And the last restriction, it's the one that really, messes with us the most, since we're a rural state full of farmers, no home grows. We'd like to see that change. We'd like to be able to see, what's the rule now? Under this is a misdemeanor?
Under 8 ounces is a misdemeanor.
Oh, but 5 plants, right?
Oh, I think 5 plants. Yeah.
5 plants. That'd be fine.
Don't. But
it'd be fine. But growing weed is hard work, and to do it right and to get a good product, it takes a lot of time and effort. So.
Yeah, we always say that. We think that maybe the legislators don't understand, as easy it is to grow plants, it's not. It is easy, but it's not. And it is a lot of hard work. And most people that qualify for the medical program are gonna be ill and disabled and probably have a lot of limitations and won't grow for themselves anyway. Yeah. So I think that maybe it's a bit of a boogeyman in their mind.
Definitely. And they're worried about, what do they call it? Oh, I could have told you this word probably 30 minutes ago.
Big word recall.
Yeah. Diversion. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want, they're worried about diversion, which is essentially okay, I'm a medical cannabis patient. I can grow my own cannabis. And then some of it goes out the side to my buddies. That's what they're worried about. But really, a couple of ounces off to your buddies off to the side isn't a big deal. I think the big problem is
we're live on Publix.
that's my personal opinion. But in general, I think they're more concerned, where it gets into large numbers being diverted, and then you fuel the traditional market a little bit more. So
which is already healthy and thriving. So again,
right, and they're not stopping anything. They're not stopping it with prohibition, and then having these rules won't stop the black market. I'm not saying continue the black market. I'd love to see a legal market where we don't have to worry about it anymore. But one step at a time, we'll get there.
Lori wanted to know, she said, my pain management nurse practitioner told me that I would have to stop doing pain management if I signed up for medical cannabis. Do you know anything about that? We touched on this a little bit earlier. It depends on the doctor. A lot of times when you're in a pain management clinic, that they may not feel comfortable doing that for you, but there's no law that says you can't. It just depends on the doctor.
Yeah. And we've heard of a lot of pain management clinics that they will throw you out if there's any cannabis in your system. And I don't know why it's that way. And
it's just because of the schedule.
I think that's what it comes down to. They want to wean you off drugs, but honestly, they can look at the research that's out there. Cannabis can help you get off opioids. Cannabis can help you do pain management. So, it doesn't matter, but
they're just going to follow the laws
and what works best for them in their pocketbooks. A lot of times, it's easier to let somebody get on Suboxone than it is to let them get something natural.
Yeah, and we said earlier, I do know people personally who use cannabis and do have access to pain management, medications, but they have a doctor they've had for many years. So I think that's a big part of it, is whether or not the doctor feels that you're going to use it responsibly and they don't have to worry about anything coming back on them. So, what else? Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. When we get offline here, it'll save this and it'll go to our page and our YouTube and everything. So you can go back and watch stuff and see. And again, you can always message us. Text our work line, call us. We may not always answer if we don't know it's pre-scheduled, but you can always give us a call or text us or whatever, and we'd be glad to help you. Send us an email, whatever. And we're going to keep doing these every Thursday night, just to check in with you guys, chat, update when there are some.
And sometimes we'll just play some interesting videos, do some educational stuff. It's a good opportunity to get people together and just sit around and learn some cool stuff and just connect.
Totally. So. You're welcome, Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
No problem. If you guys have any more questions, we'll stay on just 1 or 2 more minutes and see what But I think we covered a lot today.
Yeah, that's a lot of it's a lot of information, and it's a lot to kind of process. Even each session they throw a lot. It was 120 some odd page bill. And there's a lot of information in there. Yeah, so and they even trimmed it down some. So there's a lot of information to sift through, and when these regulations start being laid down, it's going to be even more information to sift through. And so even now we can look at what's on paper and have a difference of interpretation, and it's going to happen when the regulations come in places. There will be businesses to say, oh, it's this way or whatever, and so it's going to be a trial and error. It won't be, I don't know, it'll be a fun kind of chaos, I think.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, it's a fun kind of chaos. Anytime a new industry anywhere kind of starts, it's going to be a little bit of chaos. Everybody's so I think it'll probably get off to a rocky start. They usually do. Be patient. The prices will go down. I know they will probably be expensive, but we were just looking at some numbers from other states, from when they legalized to 3-4 years down the road. Price per pound drops by 50%, 50 to 60%. In a lot of these states. So you're going to see price drops over the years, and that's going to be big once this market kind of settles.
That's to stabilize.
Yeah, and stabilizes, and the market demands are there, and we can get into the economics of it, but that's kind of boring. I don't like numbers.
Numbers are boring. All right, so I don't know that we have anything else to report tonight, but we'll be back on next week. And if you guys want us to talk about anything in particular, let us know. I mean, I think we've been in the industry since 2017, and maybe really 2016, and outside of Kentucky. So we've got some things we can share. And if we don't have the answers, We know the people that do, and they get you the right answers. Before we sign off, though, I did want to just quickly say, guys, I have been arrested for cultivation. It's been many, many years, but it did happen. My son was removed from my custody for almost a year. And so when I tell you guys that it is my mission to make sure that no one else gets arrested or suffers because they're trying to find a natural medicine, I just, you can trust me. If I tell you that it's not legal, it's not legal. I promise you. Like, I'm going to do whatever I can to keep you safe. So will Matthew. That's what we do with Kentucky NORML. So trust us, ask us, and we'll do anything we can to help. So y'all have a good evening. Enjoy your medicines.
Brandon, I know you jumped in here with a comment real quick. We're just getting ready to sign off, but the whole, once we get off, it'll get the video kind of back into
it'll save it.
Yeah, it'll save it. And we talk about the executive order during the first part of it. So you can kind of hop back there and check it out. But thank you. Thank you for asking. And that's everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We enjoy it. We're glad to see you all. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.